ROG have made a bit of a splash in the gaming audio space recently with the release of the Cetra. Given my love for planar drivers and Hyperman headphones, I reached out to them and asked if I could review a pair. They said no, but would I like to try the Cetra? To which I said, sure. The Cetra, and I'm just going with the Italian pronunciation here, is interesting for completely different reasons. Rather than appealing to audio enthusiasts like me, it's more of a lifestyle product designed for gaming, watching movies, listening to music, and using on the go, like during workouts. For that kind of everyday use, it's a solid little device with a very clear target audience. It definitely has some shortcomings though, so let me tell you what it does, who I think it's for, and who should skip it. Now, before we get started, I did run into a connection issue with the 2.4 GHz dongle. I was able to resolve it, but for transparency, I'll cover this in more detail later in the video. The Cetra packs in a number of useful features, and some not so useful ones into its compact size. It has a decent battery at 16 hours per charge, with a case that gives you up to 48 hours of playback in total. This is of course contingent on how you run them. That time is when using Bluetooth with the lighting disabled, the mic muted, and audio modes like immersion turned off. Charging is handled via the case, and it has a rapid charge that'll give you 3 hours of playback off a 15-minute top-up. So yeah, it has both Bluetooth 6.0 and 2.4 GHz. It has multipoint, allowing for either two simultaneous Bluetooth connections or a single Bluetooth connection and 2.4 GHz. Wireless range isn't listed in the specs, but in my testing it seems to be the typical 10 meters or 30 feet, give or take depending on line of sight. The 2.4 GHz dongle is compact, and it has a USB-C port that allows power pass-through, letting you charge your device while using it. The extended connection should be long enough to pass through a thick case as well. The headphones are IPX5 rated, the case is IPX2 rated, and the dongle isn't resistant to water at all. What this means in practice is that the headphones will withstand sweat and light rain, and the case can handle light drips and minor condensation, but not a swim in the toilet. The case will hold the dongle, and this combined with the size of the headphones makes it a chunky boy at 105mm long, 56mm wide, and 30mm tall. With the headphones inside, it weighs 116 grams. The headphones on their own weigh 11 grams each, which might sound heavy, but because you wear them over your ears rather than inside them, you don't really feel it. It has active noise reduction and AI noise cancellation for the microphone. The mic is a quad mic setup, and I'll do a test later on in the video. It's compatible with most platforms such as PC, Mac, iOS, Android, PS4, PS5, the original Switch, and most devices that use Bluetooth. There's no Xbox or Switch 2 support though. In the box, you get the case, the dongle, a short USB cable, and a neck strap. Comfort is an important part of any wearable audio device, especially for gaming. This is something the Cetra nails because it feels like you're not wearing anything at all. Actually, at first, I was concerned that they might easily fall off, but they're surprisingly secure. This remains true even during a heavy workout. The neck strap is really only necessary for jogging, skipping, or perhaps even dancing. They also don't gradually work their way out of your ears like earbuds can. This is a problem I have with basically everything designed to sit in your ear canal. This is a one-size-fits-all design, meaning you don't need to mess with tips or make any adjustments to change the fit. It feels comfortable for long sessions, and yes, this is while wearing glasses or sunglasses. My wife thinks they're comfortable too, and she has tiny ears. Both earpieces have a single button, and the commands are universal across both, with the exception of volume, where the left side controls volume down and the right is volume up. This is a tactile button, meaning you'll need a defined press or hold to activate features. The button is positioned on top and requires a pinch rather than a press. This is a clever design because there's no need to press it into your skull like some other solutions. Most commands are executed with single or multi-presses, which works fine for some things, but it's not great for others. For example, a quadruple press to turn the volume up or down doesn't feel fast and requires a hell of a lot of clicking if you want more than one level of volume adjustment. This isn't a big deal though, seeing as most of the time you'll be changing volume on the connected device. That's where the companion app comes in. This lets you remap commands, so if you want a single press for volume, you can customize them to do that. The app also gives you control over the EQ, lets you manage connected devices, and customize the lights. Now, the version of the app I reviewed was a pre-release, so the final version is likely to look different, especially as ROG iterates on it. The app comes in two flavors. There's a browser version and a mobile app. The browser has a few additional settings, and on Mac, I noticed a couple of missing features. You don't need to use the app, but there are things that you can't change on the device, like the EQ, sound modes, and customizing the lights. EQ wouldn't be so bad if the default setup was the flat or gaming preset, but it's set to communication, which is an odd choice given who this product is targeting. There are several EQ presets, including music, gaming, and FPS, and you can also create your own custom profile. The web app has the option to enable virtual surround sound and reverb as well. The surround effect is interesting, but fairly subtle. And while reverb definitely adds reverb, I'm just not a big fan of using this effect to simulate a sense of space. The immersion mode is kind of like noise cancelling, but obviously that's pretty hard to achieve with an open design, so it's been labelled noise reduction. Once again, the results are subtle, but it does help cut down ambient noise like a fan or an air conditioning unit. One thing to be aware of with this mode is that if you cover the microphones when it's active, you'll get a loud, unpleasant feedback noise. Unfortunately, this is really easy to do when you're trying to press the function button. Multipoint doesn't allow for simultaneous playback, it auto-switches when it detects playback from a news source. And on the PS5, it doesn't work at all. You'll need to manually unplug the dongle from the system to swap sources. Hopefully this is something that can be fixed with a firmware update, because switching back and forth between devices is currently a pain. So I think this is a good point to discuss how they sound, and before I do that, I just want to clarify something for anyone new to my channel. I am an audio enthusiast. That means I tend to be more critical about sound quality than many other tech reviewers. To me, sound is the most important aspect of any audio device. Now, with that said, this is positioned more as a lifestyle product than a dedicated audio device, and sound clearly isn't the main focus. So I'm going to break down my impressions into two parts: what most gamers should expect, and how it performs if you're a bit more discerning when it comes to audio fidelity. Starting with gamers, the Cetra has a fun sound with an emphasis on the high-end frequencies. This means you get a decent amount of bass, while important audio cues in competitive games like footsteps are easy to pick out from the rest of the mix. Testing it with games, music, and everything else, the Cetra delivered a consistent sound with everything I tested. I think gaming is where it makes the most sense, but it's also pretty good for minimal electronic music like house and tracks that focus on vocals. Being an open ear design means that you can hear the outside world with a surprising amount of clarity. This also allows the sound to feel, unsurprisingly, more open than an earbud or an IEM. But yeah, just be aware that audio isolation isn't a focus or a strong point. ROG have implemented their own tech called directional sound transmission, so sound leakage, which is something you typically need to be aware of with open ear devices, isn't a big problem here. With my audio enthusiast hat on, a few things let the sound down. Clarity is okay, but the mix can feel congested when there's a lot going on, and imaging, as well as soundstage, lack that sense of space where individual elements occupy distinct positions. Separation exists, but not enough to prevent it sounding thin, despite having decent bass. By default, it comes with something called phantom bass enabled, which boosts both perceived low end and the overall volume. It's pretty loud in both wireless modes with phantom bass active, but when pushed hard, the low end loses definition. With phantom bass off, distortion disappears, but the sound lacks overall impact and power. The high end is quite sibilant, and I'm guessing it's been tuned this way to emphasize audio cues while gaming, but for music, I started needing a break after about an hour. You can of course use EQ to mitigate this. This is what the microphone sounds like without any post-processing, and for a compact device like this, I think it sounds pretty good. Obviously, it's not broadcast quality, but for party chat, calls, and Teams meetings, it's more than up to the task. It's got onboard AI noise cancellation and a couple of filters to improve voice quality. The first is noise gate, which I've dialed up to the maximum setting here. This will automatically mute the mic when your voice is below a set volume level. The idea is to cut out background noise such as a fan, keyboard, or other ambient sounds. Perfect voice, which again I've set to its max level, is the other filter which automatically adjusts volume balance and voice tuning. This is intended to make your voice sound clearer and more natural. I think the results here are subjective, but you can play with the levels to dial in something more pleasing. So, at the start of the video, I talked about an issue with the 2.4 GHz connection. Initially, this was working for me fine, but suddenly it would only play audio out of one side. Now, I did manage to fix it by doing a factory reset, but it's unclear if this is a one-off problem with the unit I was sent or something more widespread. I've reached out to my representative and raised this issue, and I'll post an update in the description if and when I get an answer. Like I said, I was able to fix it, so I believe it's a software issue rather than a hardware fault, so it may have already been resolved via an update by the time you watch this. The Cetra is not something that's going to give you the best possible audio experience, but that's not the goal here. This has clearly been designed to be a comfortable, lightweight and portable solution to use in a wide variety of situations. Hearing the outside world is unavoidable by design, which is great for staying aware of your surroundings and hearing your own voice clearly. But it also means that these aren't great if immersion is your goal. They'd be a really good fit, both figuratively and literally, for cross-platform versatility, mobile gaming, and those with an active lifestyle. I think the app still has a ways to go, and multipoint isn't working consistently across everything at the moment, so fingers crossed ROG can get it there. They definitely won't replace a dedicated audio device like a good pair of headphones, but as a versatile all-in-one solution with gaming front and center and broad compatibility, they are a handy little device.